Hey everybody, it's Party Elite here with another episode of Total Breakdown. A bit of a rusty one yesterday, so forgive me for that, but we're back with another battle from the ongoing Warhammer Fantasy League tournament, a link to whose Discord you can find in the description down below. This one pits the High Elves of Shetland Apache against the Vampire Counts of Brachus Rex. We begin, of course, with talk of composition and deployment, and while that all looks pretty simple, the battle is anything but. The High Elves are led by Teclis atop a horse frontline consisting of the Spearmen and 2 units of Phoenix Guard, and right behind them we've got 2 units of archers in the center, and either side protected by the Lothern Sea Guard, who have their spears to fight against cavalry. Right behind them we've got another unit of Spearmen and another unit of Lothern Sea Guard, bringing up the rear in case any cavalry come in from the back, while off to the side over here we have the Star Dragon as well as the Flamespire Phoenix, trying to push in from the sides and get a decent amount of damage done, of course. On the other side, the Vampire Counts are led by none other than Heinrich Kemmler, a frontline that consists of 4 units of Graveguard with great weapons, alongside these zombies and this unit of Skeleton Warriors, there to probably collect some arrows. Then we've got these 2 units of Fellbats alongside the Dire Pack, and these guys are probably looking to push in and chase after High Elf Archers and shut down the range support, while back here we have the Verix Reavers, the Chillgeists, as well as the Blood Knights, hoping to push in after any enemy cavalry, after those very same High Elf Archers, and then of course come in for rear charges wherever possible for that extra sweet morale damage. Then to the side, the Feasters in the Dusk as well, looking for an opportunity, I think, to push in after Archers and come in for rear charges as well. You can see the action has already kicked off in the center here, with the Flock of Doom going down on Heinrich Kemmler, and of course affecting this nice little clump around him of the Graveguard with great weapons, and they are a pretty threatening anti-infantry armor-piercing unit, so that's a good call there, hitting these guys nice and early, getting a touch of damage in, and right away as well you can see the Flamespire Phoenix as well as the Star Dragon pushing forward rather aggressively, and the Vampire Counts as well, of course, trying to close the gap as quickly as possible, trying to avoid as much magical damage as possible, and of course they want to stay away from range fire for as long as possible as well, or as quickly as possible rather, I should say. And the Fellbats you can see pushing forward, they are a pretty threatening unit, so the Flamespire Phoenix as well as the Star Dragon pushing in to take care of the Fellbats as quickly as possible. In come all of those arrows, in comes the Flamespire Phoenix as well as the Star Dragon as well, and take a look at how much damage the Fellbats are taking. More or less right away the morale drops to next to nothing, crumbling away right away, so great job there keeping that utility unit at bay, and the Flamespire Phoenix will go chasing after the Fellbats as well, while the cavalry back here pouring out from the trees, and Heinrich Kemmler up front over here gets hit more or less right away by the net of a Mintok, and the Star Dragon turns around, and a beautiful move over here. Take a look at the amount of damage done by the Star Dragon's breath over here, hitting Heinrich Kemmler square in the face more or less, but the collateral damage here is absolutely magnificent. The Graveguard are taking so much damage here, both to health and to morale. Wonderfully timed, wonderfully placed. Beautiful maneuver there. So great job by the Star Dragon, great targeting there as well. And you can see over here we've got the Vampire Count Cavalry pushing off to the left here, potentially trying to bait some of these spears off to the side so that the Feasters in the Dusk are able to creep in from the side over here and sneak in and get some nice rear charges. And meanwhile, as the gaps are closing over here, you can see a lot of range fire coming in, trying to cause a fair bit of damage to Heinrich Kemmler, trying to take care of Vampire Count leadership sooner rather than later, while off in the distance we do have these Fellbats being occupied by the Flamespire Phoenix. So great use of the Flamespire Phoenix there. Might seem a little wasteful, but in all honesty, it's doing what it needs to do, keeping those Fellbats busy. So good job over there. And at the same time, up front over here, Kemmler is getting some assistance through the Invocation of Nehek, but I don't think that's the best target. Perhaps there are some differing opinions out there, but with how low Kemmler's health is right now, he has very little chance of surviving the engagement. That Invocation of Nehek would have been a lot more useful, I think, on the Graveguard with great weapon right in front of him, just to keep them alive for a little bit longer, because again, they are a pretty threatening unit, especially against the composition that the High Elves have brought to the field. But unfortunately, Kemmler uses it all for himself, and all that range fire continues to pour in and does a significant amount of damage. In comes another Flock of Doom in the center here as well, causing a lot of hurt to this clump of units, and down goes Kemmler. So the morale damage there as well is doing a lot of work, and you can see the Graveguard in the center here between that fiery breath from the Star Dragon, between the Flock of Doom, and just the sheer morale damage of having the commander fall. These guys are losing their binding, dropping down to critical binding more or less right away, and they're giving up on their fight just as engagements begin. Off to the side here as well, now the Feasters in the Dusk are looking for an opportunity to pour in, while very cleverly the Graveguard over here in the trees have managed to sneak around and come in through for a nice rear charge into the Lothern Sea Guard over here. The Spearmen just a little too late to react, so very nicely done there as well, while the Star Dragon here is looking for an opportunity to dive in and provide some assistance, and all of that range fire is coming in as well, trying to provide some support to the front lines wherever possible. And in comes the Star Dragon's fiery breath once more, causing a great deal of damage to this clump over here. The Skeleton Warriors and the Graveguard with great weapons are the beneficiaries, let's say, of that fiery breath attack, and a lot of hurt being done to that left flank. Wonderfully done. In come the Feasters in the dusk, pushing in from the side, while the Chillgeists are able to creep in through the trees and hopefully push in for some rear charges, while the rest of the cavalry as well trying to use the trees to their advantage, while the Lothern Seaguard continue to fire away alongside these archers here and there, dropping the Graveguard with great weapons over here. But in comes the Dragon again, trying to provide some assistance and take care of that unit right away, managing to do that with very little trouble. And in come the Chillgeists, a nice rear charge into the Lothern Seaguard, dropping their abilities, stopping them from firing away very quickly. And in comes, you'll see a Flock of Doom, and this is wonderful micromanagement over here, turning the Chillgeists away and pulling them just in time to avoid more or less any damage from the Flock of Doom, because that magical damage will of course hurt the Chillgeists a lot, but also dodging the Phoenix Guard, who are extremely threatening as they are anti-large. So beautifully done there. The Chillgeists are able to get out of there before Flock of Doom is able to do any serious damage. And you can see over here, we've got Varix Reavers just waiting for another charge, getting a nice rear charge into the Spearmen over here. Wonderfully done. Look at the morale drop. Look at the health drop. Absolutely wonderful maneuvering, while up front, the Graveguard with great weapons still struggling alongside the Skeleton Warriors. The Spearmen are able to hold them in place, but these archers as well not having a good time. The Dire Pack was able to push in and cause a great deal of damage, while the Flamespire Phoenix is now trying to push in as well and protect these archers wherever possible. Unfortunately, just not an option over here. The Fellbats continue to give chase to the Flamespire Phoenix as well. Maybe there are some better places for those bats to be, but right now they're opting to die at the hands of that Flamespire Phoenix. And you can see the Chillgeists over here once again pushing in into the rears of these Spearmen, into the rears of these Lothern Seaguard as well, just dropping their will to fight. Massive routes going on around everywhere. In comes another Flock of Doom, hoping to drop, I think, the Chillgeists primarily, but of course there was a huge clump over here, so a great cast once again. And again, you'll see these Graveguard with great weapons taking a lot of damage. Their morale is at peak points though, so they're not going to crumble anytime soon. However, causing any damage is always a good idea, of course. But you can see the Chillgeists and Varix Reavers able to pull away from that engagement, stay safe as the High Elves continue to give up on the fight. Back here, the Feasters in the Dust continue to keep these Lothern Seaguard engaged. They're just not able to fire, not able to provide that range support, while again we have the Hounds here alongside the Blood Knights pushing in to try and finish off the Spearmen once and for all, change those routes into shatters perhaps. They push right through, while the Chillgeists back here alongside Varix Reaver push in right into the Lothern Seaguard again, hoping to crush their will to fight. And take a look at just how much damage they take, both in health and in morale. Fully surrounded. There's the Feasters in the dusk as well. The Phoenix Guard are right there though, but they're sitting there just looking pretty, as I like to say, not doing anything. They need to be sent in. Ideal targets here, some large units to be pushed into, but unfortunately they just stand there and watch their Lothern Seaguard brethren fall apart and die, while off in the distance here these archers are able to fire away once again back in the fray, but a lot of targets to choose from. Not really sure where to fire. They decide to fire into the backs of these Graveguard with great weapons, and that's a good call. Again, a very threatening unit. These Phoenix Guard are managing to hold their ground though against a unit of Graveguard with great weapons on either side, but the Dire Pack now being sent in, chasing after Teclis actually, and then opting instead chase after these archers, which is of course a great call, while the Phoenix over here dives in to provide some assistance against the Graveguard. But the Chillgeists and Varix Reavers again pushing into this massive clump. The Star Dragon comes in as well, trying to provide some assistance, and of course a glorious Flock of Doom. Great bait maneuver there if that was intentional. These guys are all taking a lot of damage here. The Graveguard with great weapons stand basically no chance. The Chillgeists were not able to get away either, so they decide to commit to the bit. They stay in this massive clump and try to get as much damage out as possible, while the Dire Pack as well pushing in, looking for an opportunity to dive in. And off in the distance here, these guys are able to rally, they're able to return, and while now the chase is on again, up front over here you can see the Graveguard have fallen apart. This last unit is disintegrating, giving up on the fight. There's no chance for them to stick around, and in come the Blood Knights with another charge into the Star Dragon and the Flamespire Phoenix, hoping to cause enough damage to maybe scare those guys up in the air at the very least. The Chillgeists as well now pushing in alongside Varix Reavers, trying to get a rear charge into the Phoenix Guard, but these Phoenix Guard as well able to turn around and just pile in on these units, and of course they are anti-large. The armor piercing counts for basically nothing against the Chillgeists, and in fact the Chillgeists' magical damage does well to negate the Phoenix Guard's physical resistance, but unfortunately when you're sandwiched like that and you're surrounded, it's not going to do too much. You can see their morale is dropping. They're not having a good time. They're at critical binding, very much willing to give up on the fight, while these Blood Knights continue to try and chase into the Star Dragon, I believe, just to try and cause a bit of hurt. They could have been pushed in to Teclis here. He is on a cavalry, he is on mount, so Their anti-large would have been quite helpful over there, but of course they're quite threatened by the flying units that are nearby. In come the Chillgeist and Varix Reavers once again. Another sandwich, full surround here all around the Phoenix Guard. These guys just took a wrong turn basically, and they're paying for it. A lot of damage being done there to health and morale. The Flamespire Phoenix comes in with a Wake of Fire, trying to provide some assistance, but unfortunately it is not enough. Terror kicks in, and those Phoenix Guard have basically given up on the fight. While off in the distance over here, you can see the Dire Pack decided to chase after the Lothern Sea Guard back here and eliminated them from the field. And meanwhile, back up front over here, you can see Teclis alongside the Phoenix Guard just waiting in the trees over here, while the Vampire Count is trying to pick off these Phoenix Guard sort of one individual at a time, eliminate these guys, and that would have been a great call, but for some reason they decide to disengage and pull back, maybe concerned that the Star Dragon and the Flamespire Phoenix were about to push in at the same time, but that simply allows the Phoenix Guard to retreat. And you can see we have the Feasters in the Dusk giving a bit of a chase here, but they're not able to close the gap quickly enough, so the Phoenix Guard are able to sort of join up with their allies instead, while the Dragon and the Flamespire Phoenix providing some protection, some shielding by diving into the Feasters in the Dusk, at least the Phoenix over there. So you can see now the High Elves are sort of lining up back here, and the Vampire Counts are pulling back to line up over here. So really nice to see this reforming. We don't see it very often, as I've said countless times before, but it's very important to have flank secure, anything you can do to keep morale up. And you'll see this Phoenix Guard unit as well with 8 individuals has decided to stick around and fight. So that's what you get for not picking off the enemy when the opportunity presents itself. Though then again, we did have the Flamespire Phoenix and the Star Dragon very close, able to cause a lot of damage. And now we're kicking back into action over here. You can see the cavalry sort of spreading out a little bit, hoping, I think, once more to get a nice flanking maneuver, get a full surround going if possible, because the morale damage that'll come out of that will do a lot of work. You can see the Star Dragon pushing off to the side over here, though, trying to chase after some of these guys, while the Flamespire Phoenix is pushing off to this side over here. So again, wonderful split by the High Elves as well. The Phoenix Guard creeping forward, but a very dangerous situation for these guys. As you can see, the cavalry very quickly turns around, is able to dive in, get a nice rear charge into the Phoenix Guard, but maybe trying to bait these guys into this very situation, because in comes, in just a moment's time, there's the cry for it, regrowth. Beautiful timing. Physical resistance is up by 22%. Replenishing hit points, a full surround, Flock of Doom, baiting these guys into this charge. Wonderfully done. I'd like to say that that was 100% intentional, because look at how much damage it does. The Chillgeists are finally in a very precarious situation. Critical binding, these guys are falling apart. The Flamespire Phoenix as well dives in as the Dire Pack and Varix Reavers dive into Teclis. Teclis is taking a lot of hurt, a very dangerous situation for him as well. Leadership is very low, health is very low up front over here. The Phoenix Guard just barely hanging on alongside the Star Dragon, but you'll see the Chillgeists have to pull back into some safety, and the other Phoenix Guard, the lower health Phoenix Guard, is able to get a nice rear charge into the Blood Knights, and those Blood Knights are giving up on the fight as well, while back here Teclis unfortunately does get terrified, so he's about to give up on the fight, and the morale damage that is going to cause to the High Elves is tremendous. A very precarious situation for both sides of the field over here. Teclis just barely willing to stick around and fight, and you can see here the Chillgeists as well as Varix Reavers not sure where to go anymore. The Dire Pack as well just not sure what to target. The Phoenix, the Dragon, they're all very threatening. We've got the Phoenix Guard as well bringing up the rear, chasing after the Blood Knights still, and keeping the Feasters in the Dusk busy, while all this fighting in the trees is very dangerous, of course, for the large units of both sides of the field, but naturally the Vampire Counts are a bit more reliant on that right now. Down go the Feasters in the Dusk, and again falling back into some safety. Not good enough, however, and the High Elves win a glorious but Pyrrhic victory. With Kemmler dying off so early, the High Elves may have been under the impression that their victory would be a relatively easy one, but with some fantastic use of cavalry, encirclement, and appropriate target selection, the Vampire Counts put up a very tough fight. The largely ranged army did a fair bit of work as the enemy approached, but once the lines closed and a surround was in motion, the archers very quickly fell apart, as did the Lothern Sea Guard, though they had some more value in melee, of course. The Vampire Counts almost recovered from the early damage, but the Star Dragon, the Phoenix, and the Phoenix Guard had a lot to say about that. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content and keep sending in those battle replays. I do think it's one of the best ways to learn, and it's always nice to see amazing battles from the community. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.